Hello everyone. I have with me the textbook of Psychology First BA of Karnataka State Open University, that is Manasa Gangotri, Mysore. Here we have 4 blocks in it: block 1, block 2, then block 3 and block 4. In that, let me introduce to you the block 1, that is the introduction of psychology. Coming to that, we have unit 1 here. Unit 1, Introduction to Psychology. So in Introduction to Psychology, we have all these things to study. We are going to study today Unit 1, the Introduction to Psychology. Here we have the Unit 1, Introduction to Psychology. You can see here I have a textbook with me. Here I have Introduction to Psychology textbook. In that, we are going to see that after the full lesson, full unit, we have here some question and answers given to check your progress. So this is the basically notes of each unit you are going to study. So now we are going to study these 3 questions which are given after first unit. So first is, what are the definitions of psychology which came in the beginning? So here answer is already given here, that is 1.3. So let me read out for you 1.3. Here is 1.3 for you. Here is 1.3 for you. So we are going to read the psychological definitions. Okay, I'll read this for you. The word psychology was derived from 2 words, psych and logos. Psych means soul and logos means discourse or science of study of soul. Science of soul, as the concept was purely abstract and metaphysical in nature, this definition was discarded on the ground that it would come in the way of psychology progress. Later, it was defined as the study of mind or study of mind. The term mind again is metaphysical in nature and it cannot be seen. It is only a functional entity, so this definition was also discarded. Then came the definition that psychology is the study of conscious behavior. This definition stayed for some times, but later, as the subject matter of psychology is not limited to the conscious behavior of an individual, this definition was also discarded. Psychology studies not only the conscious behavior but also the unconscious behavior. The phenomenon like hallucinations, delusions, dreams, phobias are also dealt and understood in psychology for a better understanding of the individual. So, the definition was extended to the study of conscious and unconscious behavior. So, here are the definitions which was given by some of the scientists. William James in 1890, he gave the definition that psychology is the science of mental life, both its phenomena and of their conditions. The phenomena are such things as we call feelings, desires, cognitions, reasonings, decisions, and the like. Next, James Angel in 1910, he gave the definition that all consciousness everywhere, normal or abnormal, human or animal, is the subject matter which the psychologist attempts to desire or explain, or no definition of his science is wholly acceptable which designates more than or less than just this. Next, after that, John B. Watson in 1919, he stated that for the behaviorist, psychology is that division of natural science which takes human behavior, the doings and sayings, both learned and unlearned, as its subject. Next, Kurt Kofka in 1925, he says, as a provisional definition of psychology, we may say that Its problem is the scientific study of the behavior or living creatures in their contact with the outer world. Next, Arthur Gates in 1831, he says that conceived broadly, psychology seeks to discover the general laws which explain the behavior of living organism. It attempts to identify, describe and classify the several types of activity of which the animal, human and other is capable. Next, Edwin Boren in 1939, he says, what is man? To this question, psychology seeks an answer. Norman Munn in 1951, he says that today psychology is most commonly defined as the science of behavior. Interestingly enough, however, the meaning of behavior has itself expanded so that it now takes in a good bit of what was formerly dealt with an experience. Such private subjective process as thinking are now dealt with as internal behavior. Then Kenneth Clark and George Miller in 1970 says that psychology is usually defined as the scientific study of behavior. Its subject matters includes behavioral processes that are observable such as gestures, speech and psychological changes, and processes that can only be inferred such as thoughts and dreams. So this is the answer of our first question. What is our first question? What are the definitions of psychology which came in the beginning? So this is the answer which we have studied. You can also make it as a small and you can study for that. Next, let me come to second question. Explain the need to study psychology. So here we have answer in 1.4. Let me come to the need of psychology 1.4. So here is the answer for that. The subject matter of psychology is to understand the behavior. Behavior of an individual varies from one individual to another and from one situation to another. No one can predict exactly what an individual is going to do for a given situation, as the response will be purely personal in nature, and the individual's mental, emotional, social, environmental factors do influence the response. But still, there will be some common factors ruling out all these through which the individual react for situations. Psychology tries to find out and form some common rules through which it understands the behavior. The aim of psychology is to describe, explain, predict, and contract behavior. We have little continuation also. Let me read it for you. The first task for a psychologist is to gather information about the behavior being studied and to present what is known. For example, psychologists would not be content with simply stating the facts, but also be interested in explaining why people behave as they do. And these explanations often go beyond what can be observed to include ideas why people react in certain ways. Once the psychologist describes and explains the causes of these behavior, the next step of a psychologist is to predict the behavior based on the accumulated knowledge, what people will think, feel or do in certain situations. By studying descriptive accounts linking certain behavior together, psychologists can predict certain events. Finally, psychologist seeks to go beyond descriptions, explanation and predictions to control behavior to influence or control behavior in helpful ways. So this is the answer of our second question. Explain the need to study psychology. Let me come to the third question. What are the misconceptions still prevailing in the mind of people about psychology? So for that answer, we have to come to 1.5. Here is the misconceptions about psychology. Let me read this. As soon as people hear the word psychology, they start thinking that this is a subject which studies people just by looking at their faces. This idea is still prevailing in illiterate as well as literate and educated community also. People still believe that psychologists read faces and tell what is going to happen, what has happened, etc. They also believe that psychologists can read mind, whatever we are thinking, they can get to know even without telling, and it is very difficult to hide anything from them. Talking to a psychologist means other people looking will think that maybe he or she is mentally ill, or people are scared that talking to them they may be branded as mentally ill. They also believe that psychologists can make people talk whatever they want. They can hypnotize and make them do anything. They think that psychologists are like fortune tellers and they can predict what is going to happen. Looking at the size of the head, distance between two eyes, they can tell about the type of the person. These are all common notions and misconceptions about psychology and psychologists. From the beginning, people thought that subject psychology is related to evil spirits. The devils and evil spirit occupy human beings, and that is the reason they behave in an abnormal way. They believe devils, evil spirits, and other supernatural beings to be responsible for the abnormal behavior. Many archaeological discoveries have led to many ancient skulls with small holes which support the probability that these were made to allow the evil spirit to escape. There are findings showing that mental disorders were attributed demons and evil spirits. The tantras, mantras, and sprinkling of holy water in all religions were followed to cure abnormal behavior. The mentally ill people were tied with chains and locked in dark rooms without giving any food, and also were neglected for their hygiene. All these kinds of unscientific and inhuman ways of treatment was used because of ignorance. All these misconceptions are still prevailing only because people stay away from getting to know information about psychology and psychologists. The lack of awareness about the subject and the subject matter, and also the profession and contribution of a psychologist in helping people maintain a good mental health and improve their life are the real reasons. In reality, psychology is a pure science as like any other science subjects, and a psychologist is a professionally trained person who make use of scientific method to treat. To be very precise, a psychologist is doctor who treats mental problems, suggests ways and means to improve one's life, etc. So, all the notes of your unit 1, I have read all the answers for you. Next we have unit 2, scope of psychology. I am going to give you this unit notes in the next video. Hope this video is useful for you. For more videos, subscribe to my channel. Thank you.